I'd like to welcome everybody to the Township of Nipissing Museum Board meeting on Wednesday, March the 5th. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interests? Okay, so our first motion of the evening is to appoint a chairperson for the 2025 season. Is there anybody that the committee would like to nominate for the season?
I'll nominate Jane.
I think I'll second that.
And I'll agree. And I'll accept.
Well, you'll accept,
Good.
okay,
I've done
so,
it before. so-
okay, all right, so I'll say moved by Steve, seconded by Dave, and then all in favor? Okay. And I'll get you to sign that afterwards, Jane.
Yeah,
Would you like me just to bring all the motions over to you and I can let you know as we work through them? Next time I'll sit next to you at the meeting.
or I'll
Would that-
sit next to you, one or the other. it's
Yeah,
easier.
either or, so I'll just bring them around to you so you've got them as we work through
Oh,
the
okay,
motions. Is
sure.
that okay for tonight?
Yeah, yeah, that works.
You've got the agenda there to work down through.
Yep.
Thank you so much for accepting the chairperson
It's
for
okay.
the,
Done
for
it
the
before,
season.
so-
I think it's good to mix it up a little bit. Everybody
Perfect.
gets a kick at the cat.
Yeah.
So are you gonna fill in the for and against part?
We don't normally do that unless we
Oh,
take
recorded vote?
take a recorded vote.
Perfect.
Yes, so that's
Perfect.
perfect. But thank you for clarifying.
No, that's not a problem. Okay, third item on the agenda is the motion to approve the minutes of the board meeting held November 13th. I know we've all slept since then. So, sorry. I'm not good with names. Gladys Bateman. Gladys, thank you. Moved by Gladys, seconded by Dave.
Yeah.
All in favor? Okay, staff updates. Oh, no, sorry, I missed one. Motion to approve the opening and closing dates for the museum for 2025.
So I think we have some discussion about when the opening date. Did you get some information back on these?
Yes, so, Kristen, the email I got was, opening on July 2nd for the official opening to the public day. And then our last open day would be the day before Labor Day, which would be Sunday, August 31st, if that is acceptable.
What was the closing date?
August
August
31st. Is there any discussion on those dates?
So the reasoning behind it is, we're likely to have high school students as our museum assistants. They are going to be finished by June 29th. That'll sort of give them a weekend to settle back into things. It'll also give some time for, getting things ready.
Okay,
I'll move it.
Oh,
moved by
so-
Dave, seconded by Steve, yeah? That we approve July 2nd, 2025 as the opening date and August 31st as the closing date for the Nipissing Township Museum for the 2025 season. All in favor? Perfect.
And Jane, if I could just speak to that a bit, Jillian mentioned about the students, so we haven't had inquiries about our past students that have been great for the museum. One just emailed today who's been with us for the past 2 seasons expressing interest upon returning, so that will
So
be.
did our other students.
Okay, so.
Oh, that's awesome. That's
Most of them want
great.
to come back.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so.
That's great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it looks like we will have both returning staff, which makes training and jumping right back into the programs very successful.
Yeah.
I know Jill, they worked great with Jillian and provide a lot of programs. We're just waiting to hear back on the Canada Jobs Grant, whether we receive that funding. the opportunity to apply for the Ontario grant. We did miss that opportunity. There seemed to be a bit of communication error with getting that, but we will be applying for it next year. We have reminders in our calendars for that. But there is money in the budget to cover for that student for the museum, so we will have that student. But we're still waiting on the Canada Jobs, which we have been successful in the previous years getting funding
Mhm.
for.
Yeah.
But in terms of the students returning, we have had, and we did get a lot of great feedback from those students. And in terms of engagement, I covered a shift on a Sunday for Jillian. And wow, those students, they were right in there and doing things with all of the events we had. So it'll be great to have them back.
That's good.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So you made a happy room.
Yeah.
I tried.
Yeah, it's good
Yeah.
leadership.
That's awesome.
Well, they made it easy.
Yeah.
Okay. Staff updates.
All right, so the first one is building maintenance. Kim, did you want to take that one?
Sure, yeah, so, yesterday, today was the actual official closing of the Ontario Trillium Foundation grant, but I was actually able to hit submit on our grant application yesterday. So we're gonna all keep our fingers and toes crossed that we are successful for the grant application for the foundation. As I spoke to Jillian and to the past chair and the mayor prior to the grant submission, when we costed out everything and looking at trying to do a small addition to the grant, with the cost and everything that it was gonna be well over OTX funding agreement. And for what we needed, what we actually need is the foundation fixed. So we backed off adding in the expansion and just focused on the foundation. When I spoke to the representatives at the Ontario Trillium Foundation, they told us, which was really great to hear from Jillian and I's perspective, is that our application last year had a lot of merit, meaning we didn't need to change a lot of it to resubmit this year. So we updated our budget costing with the assistance of our chief building official and our operations superintendent. So we had this year's costing. We changed some of the language in there based on their recommendations. So we're very hopeful that we'll have a successful application this year. And then knowing in terms of spacing, Jillian has some ideas to make the space usable for user groups coming in, whether it be the schools or special interest groups and that coming in to use the museum. But then also taking some of our programming on the road. If our space isn't big enough, then we could go to the schools for programming, either with Jillian on her own or my assistance or the board's assistance going into the classrooms in that. I did speak to the operations superintendent with the, as you know, we presented the draft budget yesterday. So there is money for the yard and maintenance in there. So I made sure that the money that is in there, because we had talked about it last year at our board meeting in terms of fixing up the parking lot, because there's that area that puddles. So I ensured that the money that is allocated there is sufficient to fix that parking lot area. So making sure that they'll be able to square it off and put the stone in there. So that will be done as part of the building maintenance. So just so that you're aware that we had that.
Didn't Dave and I volunteer to clean up the walk?
Get weeds out of the walkway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I do know, and I believe Public Works, and I
Probably
just,
grateful mixture for that.
yeah, and I do believe Public Works, but I'd have to confirm it. I think they did some maintenance on some of the picnic tables and that at the end of the season when they had time in the shoulder season, but I'd have to confirm that as
I'm
well.
not sure, because I think the paint might have been still in here. They
Oh,
were going to, and then it might not have happened because.
okay, so I'm not too sure, so, but I do know there's talk.
cold.
Yeah, so, but, or there may be an opportunity for the students to help with that over the summertime, you know, between getting activities ready and people coming in. So right now, things are just moving along. We just need to wait for all the snow to go and it's time for them to do that up before the opening of the season, so.
If I could just ask a question to
Sure.
bring myself up to date.
Yes,
Does council have does council have the mechanism for annual money to go into a museum account for repairs and like, do we do that? Does Nipissing do
Like a
that?
reserve for it?
Yeah,
so there is a reserve. I'd have to look to see what is allocated. There's currently 20,000, I want to say, in the reserve fund, because we talked about,
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
we did talk about if we went over the OTF funding amount, if we had to, we could pull some money from the reserve. I'd have to double check with the treasurer how much is allocated each year into the museum reserve fund. But this, go onto the website, Jane. This is the document that was posted. I posted it today, which is the draft budget.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so it will have the amount,
haven't had a
and I
chance to
brought
look
it
at it.
today, but it's got the museum, what we're actually spending on a year-to-year basis.
Right,
Some of the money got jigged a bit, nothing different in terms of total amounts, but we had a set amount of money for office supplies, and I said that could be lowered so that we could make sure we had enough money for the merchandising amount, so.
I'll say you've been putting between $3,500 and
Yeah.
$4,500 away every year,
So
which
it
is
grows
good.
here, so.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So you
that
are,
balance is here right now.
yeah,
Yeah,
so,
like, you're right on with it.
yeah, so,
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh,
okay,
so-
that's all I wanted to, I figured you would, but I just wasn't sure. Because some municipalities, I mean, they just don't have the money to do it,
Yeah.
right? So, and those kind of things sometimes slide because,
Yeah,
and I wanted
absolutely.
to make sure that there was, so at least there's a little bit in there if you
Yes.
needed to.
Yeah.
To top up so that we're not having any issues to get the
Right.
foundation done, right?
Well,
Go ahead.
yeah, we did, our plan last year was to start putting the museum on the asset management plan, so
I would imagine you'd have to,
Yeah.
right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
And-
we don't have a choice anymore.
No, and it was part of the building assessment that was done
Yeah.
as part of it, so it
Yeah.
will all be included with
Yeah.
that. You're right.
yeah,
And the roof was done last year, like as far as
Yeah.
structure wise, everything's good, it's just under, well, I shouldn't say that, foundation's still good, but the rest of it's great, so.
yeah,
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
you're good, you're good.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
we'll have an engineering, we'll go in at the beginning of May to check it out to ensure that we're able to open this season, and then we always have a contingency plan. Last year, our public works crew went in and made a temporary repair so that we could go in and open for the 2024 season. So hopefully that's still viable for this season if we don't get the grant, but we're very hopeful with the work that we did between Jillian and I on this year's grant application. And I had a couple calls with OTF this year, and all we can do is keep trying. If we aren't successful, then there is another avenue for a grant, and I have that as well. There's a lot of time and effort, as you know, that goes into the grant
Oh, yeah.
application. But hopefully, you know, with our second time going and they just
Now,
said-
this grant, does it have to be shovel ready?
we didn't have to have, the trouble with being a municipality, we can't go out to contractors and vendors and say, please come in and give us a quote, because we can't offer them the job, because being a municipality, we have to put it out to tender and that.
Right,
And we can't put it out to tender and say, oh, but by the way, we're not going to, we have to wait to see if we get the
but
money.
you've got all your, by shovel ready, I mean, like you've got all your engineering done and all that, or
So
no?
we have an engineer that will be able to give us a design and drawing, and we know those costs. And so he will be able to come in and do that for us. And then they will, we've got costing from our operations superintendent on the cost of the job. And OTF has said that that was sufficient for us as a municipality in terms of costing for our quote. And then it will go out, and then I've indicated right on the budget that we submitted, that is how we did it, and they told me last year and this year that is sufficient for us as a
That's
municipality to put in, because it's not a brand new build where yes, you would need engineered drawings and that in order to submit for, you know, if you were doing a brand new recreation center, so.
Yeah, you would,
Yeah,
yeah, but sometimes
absolutely.
when it's a big job like a foundation, they wanna know not necessarily the cost, but the depth of what needs to be done for work-wise.
Yes, and we've
to-
indicated that it's all been laid out for them.
Perfect,
And our
thank you.
building inspectors really knowledgeable, like, on all of that to help you out, and we're
Yeah.
lucky that.
Yeah, and he even knows the engineers.
That's right.
They work well together, so.
Yeah, they usually do,
Yeah, yeah.
great.
So if we do, so when we hear back from the engineer about whether or not we'll be able to use the building for this season, I'll be looking for volunteers who might be interested in helping me move some of the furniture in there to make it a little bit more user-friendly for sort of large group programming.
Not a problem. I've been volunteering before. I can do it again.
Yeah, so it'll just be a matter of whether we're allowed to use the building, and we'll move things around inside, or whether we'll have to cart things to the church in order to create a gift shop space in there. An office space in there. Okay, so, the next one is event planning. So, if we could set times for the 3 upcoming events, just so that I can start getting the sort of the word out there, putting posts on Facebook, on the community calendars for the local news media stations.
I believe the motion had some times because we
It
had some
does.
proposed times for the
Yeah.
events.
Yeah.
I saw it.
So the motion before discussion says that we approve the following 2025 event times: Tea and Talk on July 13th from 11 to 3, Heritage Day, August 17th, 11 to 3, and Remembrance Day, November 2nd, from 10:30 to 2:30. So, discussions?
11
Actually,
to
all those
3.
dates work for me.
Yeah,
I have a
11 to
busy
3
summer,
is
but
just historically when all the museum events tend to happen. The reason why the Remembrance event is a little bit earlier was to leave time in case we wanted to schedule in a moment of silence at 11, even though it's not Remembrance Day itself. If we wanted to include that as part of the event schedule, that
Absolutely.
would leave time for people to come in and get settled and
Yeah.
and that kind of thing.
so is everybody in
I'll
agreement?
move it,
Dave? Steve?
I'll
Yeah?
Second that. Is this for all 3?
Yeah, for all
Perfect.
3. So Tea and Talk on the 13th of July, Heritage Day on the 17th of August, and the Remembrance Day on November 2nd. All in favor? Perfect. Yeah, I don't mess around.
So with that in mind, I've got the Powassan Library has asked us to do a exhibit for May, June. So I was hoping to have the event poster for the Tea and Talk and to have some of our seasonal brochures in there. So if you guys could take a look at that, and if there's.
You sent that, didn't you? I thought so.
When is the thing for the library?
May and June.
In June?
Yeah.
When are we moving stuff up to?
I'm not sure about the date yet. It should be fairly small items. There's no big pictures. All little stuff.
Yeah.
This one?
There should be a seasonal one in there before that
Yeah, I
one.
know. I,
No, I didn't. Photocopy it.
I think it should be motion number 5 is for the seasonal.
Yep.
oh, I
That
see.
we approve the
Got it.
seasonal brochure for the
I remember
Nipissing
seeing it.
Museum. Yeah.
And I will, when I make them, I'll trim them so that they fold properly.
Now, are we taking these to Resto Park and all the same places?
Yep.
Okay,
I just wanted to make sure that I had time to get them ready, get them printed and all that
It'd
jazz
be
to
nice
have it
if
in the
you could
library.
take some into the Legion as well, in Orangeville and Restour.
Okay.
Yeah, just not a lot, but just a few.
I took some in last year,
Yeah.
right?
I know somebody that will do that.
For Friday night pizza.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah, it
always,
doesn't hurt, but if you've got a few there and there's some vets that are interested in the Remembrance Lunch or something like that, they
Yeah.
at
Well,
least know about it.
yeah.
I always take them into, I go my way. So I'll Cedar Grove Camp, Jerry's General, Mill Bay, the Legion. Resto Park.
I can do the camps on the south shore of the marina and the store and
And then they'll be in at the Sorry, they'll be in at the library.
Yeah.
And then if you, I don't know how receptive Powassan would,
calendar.
yeah, and
That would
calendar,
be
and I'm
Powassan.
not sure how receptive Powassan would be, but if you went in and asked at 250 Clark, closer to the dates, they might put it up on their,
Gladys, cause you normally do the Powassan.
I usually do.
They're
Yeah.
two
Yeah,
clubs
nobody,
usually good.
nobody's have given me any,
Okay,
they put it up on the big sign. to
oh,
say
on the
that-
big sign, I've never asked them about the big sign, but I will, I can.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
Eastman
Never
just
even
like
thought
the
about
big
that.
one near
Yeah.
the, is it near the rink or something? I think Mary Heasman sometimes has managed to get our events up on the big sign.
On the electronic sign of the
Yeah.
rink, yeah,
Yeah.
but they've got that really nice one now,
Mhm.
right at the two, at
I never,
250
I've never
Clark.
asked them to do that, but I've
So-
always, that's a good idea though.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Mhm.
well, I
Yeah.
can certainly look
Okay.
I can't see
into
why
it.
they shouldn't, they got all of them.
I'll check.
yeah, they're really good, they're really good about doing stuff like that, yeah, they're really good about doing
We
stuff
could
like that.
probably put them up at the community center here out by the highway a week or two ahead of time
I
or.
think they usually do that,
And have some,
not like,
no,
They
and up
used
at
to.
the fire hall
They used
at
to.
Wolf
Yeah.
Lake, yeah.
They
Mhm.
usually do it one side,
Yeah.
so they'll put it on one side of each board.
Yeah.
It depends on the other, like, if there's a lot of other
Yes,
events going on at the same
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
So,
So the
Yeah, well, we
motion,
can send an email to us in advance of when our events are, so they can maybe coordinate the signs.
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and then also at the Commanding Museum, always drop some there.
Yeah,
yeah. So the
I usually
motion,
put some at Crook Creek too.
oh yeah, that's a good
Okay.
idea too.
great.
So the motion reads that we approve the seasonal brochure for the Nipissing Township Museum for 2025. Is there any discussion on the,
certainly, if there's
Brochure.
any, any recommendations?
No, it looks.
I think it looks
I
great.
think it looks
Very
very
good.
good.
Somebody put some effort into this and it shows.
We don't know who.
can't imagine.
You don't wanna point
Okay.
people out.
So I need a motion, Dave
Yeah,
and Gladys, yeah?
Gonna follow this and see if it works.
So moved by Dave and seconded by Gladys that we approve the seasonal brochure for the Nipissing Township Museum for 2025. All in favor? Carried. Okay. The pricing and the quantities for the tea and talk.
So I did have, a relatively simple menu, so there's two savory options, there's two sweet options. There's like vegan options in each of them that shouldn't. You know, it should taste not just like vegan stuff, but it's an option, if that makes sense. Like, it's
And
not
is
there
it-
just to be vegan, it's a recipe that happens to be vegan.
And is it here?
So the tea and talk is gonna be at the museum,
Oh, at the museum.
Yeah. so, we will, however, be doing the baking here, for whoever volunteers will be doing the baking here the day before. Cause this is an inspected and approved kitchen and the water gets tested regularly, so we can use it.
Right,
So I've sort of priced out based on, you know, we don't get anything donated or at, you know, they're sort of based on the no frills prices, cause that's what was easily available when I was doing the research. However, I know in days gone by, when the berry patch used to be here, they used to get local fruit. I was thinking that as much as possible, if we can try and purchase some of the produce anyway from local growers or local vendors at the Powassan market. I think that would be
You,
quite nice.
Two Schlossers, two berries.
the neighbor, Dr. King's, I believe, somebody's growing over there at
Okay.
Morris's farm across the road from
Yeah.
there. But I don't think Morris and Becky do that. I know if we can find out though.
Okay.
Does Brian own property across from the farm? Brian Schlosser, Morris is young man.
No, I'm sure it's Dr. King there. has
Yeah.
been
Yeah.
Better there and.
We have to be careful not identifying
That's
people.
right, that's,
So-
yeah,
That's
So
okay.
yeah,
If
so
if you guys do seem to know who might potentially be interested in having us purchase, or hopefully maybe even donating something to the event, that would be great. And then we can try and narrow down where we're
There's
gonna
another
go
farm
for
on
things.
Schlosser that, there's a, that has a business in Powassan too, that you could get the berries from probably. Yeah. I think you're right. I think it's very important that, especially with everything that's going on politically right now, that we source as much as we can locally.
So that
Um,
might bring the cost up a little bit, but I think,
It's good support.
yeah,
It's good support,
Always shop as local as you can.
absolutely.
Go farther afield if you can't find it locally, so on.
yeah. So it'll take a little bit more to sort of figuring this out, but this is just some sort of basic things, just so that, as I said, we can approve the poster so that the poster can start getting advertised with the pricing on it. So,
So the motion says that we're approving the pricing and the quantities, but I don't see any pricing or quantities unless I've got it and I missed it.
it's at the end of the Excel spreadsheet.
Oh, okay, I missed it.
Oh, sorry, the quantities are at the top, and then the prices,
Oh,
are
yeah,
at the
there they
bottom.
are. Tea and talk, scones, cake, sandwiches, tarts.
So my thinking was the size of each serving would be more of a snack size rather than a meal size. Everything would come with a beverage and then have have beverages for sale separately as well, if people would like. So based on previous year's Pie Fest numbers, if we had a total serving number of about 102, that was just what the recipe spat out at me. Then that would cover the number of people we are likely to get to come to the event, as well as if at the end of the event, we want to sell things to take home at a discounted price. Because that was another thing that was often popular at Pie Fest, was buying like the whole pie. Then we would have some for that, and hopefully not a lot of leftovers. Just realistically based on the numbers we're expecting.
Okay.
So I was proposing to, the cost based on the prices that I had available, approximately per item, would be about $361. So if we brought that up to $7, that would sort of help generate some revenue to help pay for other parts of the event.
I'm hungry just looking at it.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
There is, I don't know how willing she would be or how receptive she would be, but there is a lady that's just started a tea business in Calendar, or in
Okay.
Amanda.
Okay.
You might want to reach out to her and see whether or not she would be interested in donating, or it would be good. Sorry, I can get it for you.
Steve's on it.
Yeah, we
I'm
can-
on
on it.
that's okay, we can get it afterwards.
Yeah,
and look into
Yeah,
it.
and she might be interested. It would be good promotion for her business as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And I think everything. Have we built? I don't know how to word this. Have you built into this, all these prices were kind of put together before all this nonsense started, right? With tariffs and all that sort of stuff.
Yes, this was probably about a half ago, the prices that no frills, just because.
Yeah, but everything that we're purchasing we're trying to as local as possible. I don't think locally is going to be
We're not going to.
affected
As much?
As much, so.
I'm just, I mean, they're only talking 1% and 2% increases anyway, even if he puts these huge tariffs on, so it it might not be an issue, but I think we should always keep that in mind. Because I get you're not gonna be buying this stuff for a while, but
Well, exactly, the prices are gonna change anyhow.
absolutely,
And then
yeah.
we can,
Yeah,
Yeah.
you'll be in the, well within your range, I would think.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
is there anything else you wanted to bring up to the board about the pricing and the quantities and everything, or if you?
just
You're
sort of,
good?
it's up there for folks to discuss, if you think that the pricing is reasonable.
I think
Or-
it's really well researched, I
Yeah.
think you did.
I do
Mhm.
know in like, this is a similar price to what we have had in past years for the Pie Fest. And given inflation, like, I think we charged more for Pie Fest at the last. But given the circumstances, and we want to make sure that it's a community event that's affordable, this seems reasonable to me.
Well, and I think because they're really pushing, support local, they're really pushing, get involved this year at the provincial level, so you may see a better turnout than you expect.
Okay.
And,
I
and it's our
think
first time doing this event, so
Exactly.
as well, so.
people will be interested to see what's going on, yeah.
Yeah,
And if we can get the flyer out to the school before the end of the school year, then we'll hit all of the school age kids before they go on summer holidays, so. And it happens just 2 weeks after school ends, so you will capture, some of, that group as well, which is great.
Absolutely. So the motion reads that we approve the pricing and the quantities for the Tea and Talk event on July 13th, 2025. As we discussed. All in favor? Oh, no, I need a mover and a seconder. Gladys. Sorry,
I'll second that.
Steve, yeah? Got ahead of myself there. All in favor? Yep, thank you. Okay, what's next?
Okay, so the next is the poster for that event. So I'd already put the prices in sort of as placeholders. I can change the colors slightly if they're too strong, or this is the first time I've seen it printed out. I'm just gonna,
yeah,
think. Okay.
Yeah.
It stands out, it's gonna draw attention now.
Don't
So
have
is
that.
that cucumber bacon and cream cheese
Oh,
sandwich?
there it is. It is, I do.
Oh, I didn't eat.
I was gonna say, you must be.
It sounds pretty good, though, even though I don't like cucumber.
No, I love them.
Me
Yeah.
too.
Have you been able to hear from any of our, local producers yet?
So I've talked to Dan and Lori Costello, and they're just a little bit busy at the moment. Not sure, so they'll get back to me in a little bit. I did email Matthew's Maple Syrup. I have not yet heard back, I believe.
I'm sure that he's really busy too.
I think it's very, it's
Yeah.
probably not a great time of year to be asking. But
Well-
I also talked to Tom Morrow from Blossom Home Hardware, because he did talk at 250 Clark, talking about small scale, if you wanted to start doing your own
Mhm.
backyard. He said he would be interested.
Oh, perfect.
So that would be pretty cool.
Mhm.
And those were the ones that I knew of offhand. If there are any other, even people that, they're not necessarily, large scale operations, but small scale that might be interested in coming and talking.
I will be going to the first tapping, and I believe it's on March 16th, am I correct?
Saturday.
Is that the run?
Yeah.
Is that the run?
No, the first tapping,
Oh,
the
for
official
sure.
first tapping.
Oh, yeah. At Matthews?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm going Saturday.
Is it Saturday?
Yes.
Saturday, sorry, the 15th, 16th.
So maybe even just after, in a month or so, you to follow up after it
Yeah.
calms down a little.
menu looks amazing. It really
Hopefully,
does.
hopefully the food is as good as it sounds,
Did you do the menu when you were hungry?
maybe.
Just throwing it out there.
No, I was trying to incorporate the maple syrup without it being like front and center like you would at, Maple Syrup Festival where you get pancakes and maple syrup, just because we don't want to do the same thing that they're doing. And then I was trying to pick food that, like, the produce that was gonna be in season during that month.
Mhm. That makes good sense too.
Yeah, so it'd be
Mhm.
easier and cheaper to get it seasonally.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I'll be doing some recipe testing.
I think it looks great. So the motion reads that we approve the event poster for the Tea and Talk event on July 13th, 2025. Any further discussion? I need a mover and a seconder, please. Gabe, Steve? All in favor? Carried. Okay,
All right, so,
artifact status report.
so I have been slowly adding more of the documentation into the past perfect system. So in terms of records that have been added, I have added everything from 1970s that we have paperwork for, from 1976 up until 1984.
Awesome.
So a large chunk of what was donated in 76, so hopefully it'll be a little bit faster from now on.
Okay.
But there's still lots to be done.
Oh, that's good though. Yeah.
So that's just the paperwork that's being added that because of course I'm not at the museum right now, I'm not adding photographs of the artifacts. But it's
So 76 to 84, that's
Yeah.
all done?
in terms of the paperwork that's been
Yeah.
added, the information from the paperwork. There will be an artifact that we may possibly get donated. That'll come up in the next meeting just because I'm waiting to hear back from the donor with some extra information and to check the collection before I bring it to the board. But that's it for artifacts
Okay,
for now.
exhibits.
Okay, so for the Tea and Talk event, I'm hoping to have sort of a mini exhibit that fits within that theme, to have some sort of fun facts or discussion points that are sitting on the table that people can sort of interact with while they're enjoying their food. There's the exhibit at the Powassan Library. That's going to be the games that were developed last year, as well as one of the temporary exhibits that was developed last year by the students, and some of the toys from the gift shop because they're small and sort of fit in. So that's May, June. Then the maple syrup will probably just be for the event day or for the weekend. Then for the main exhibit for the summer, building the homestead, the timber framing equipment. That's sort of going to be the main new exhibit for the year. And then the other one will be the Remembrance Day event. We'll have an exhibit set up in the community center for the event. So I was thinking, we do have a number of uniforms. Some of them we do have photographs of them being worn, as well as some information about people that wore them. So have that as part of it. We do have at least one, possibly two letters that were written home from soldiers at the front. And I was thinking, for some of the uniforms that are in the collection that have no provenance, and I believe may have come from another museum at some point in the past, that may have been surplus to their needs, and so they have no direct connection with Nipissing. And I know other military museums have done this before, but have a little station where people could try on the uniforms. And I was thinking if we had a little plaque, it could just be a piece of paper, but something along the lines of this uniform was worn by the people in this regiment. These were some of the experiences they would have gone through during the war, and they could, you know, put on the coat and hold up the paper and take a little picture and sort of have that as a memory. Sort of have more of a connection to it.
I realize how heavy the clothes were. And
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and do something like that as an interactive. And then a coloring booth for the younger kids probably, and have some coloring. I know Emma is quite creative, and she did some coloring pages for the museum before, so maybe have some that are centered around Remembrance Day and
poppies and Flanders Field crosses.
yeah, different things. We'll see what we can find in the photographs, because that's what she did before, was sort of trace some of the photographs that we have in the Legion Government. That was, and then if there is time, I would like to update the exhibit that is currently in the church. That's the first 4 families. And make it similar to the Stories from the Road exhibit that was done this year with a map. And then have, like, within the same poster, have, you know, the stories and photographs of those families that were the first to sort of permanently settle here as pioneers. But I think it would be prudent to focus on the exhibits that will tie into our events. And then, yeah, just.
Okay.
That took a fair amount of time last year. So, I believe that's all I have.
Okay. The strategic plan update, do we have anything on that, or is it just something that sits on the agenda?
It sits on the agenda, and really the main update is that the museum grant was put in. That was on the our strategic plan, was to continue to look for grant opportunities. And the other thing that was on there was to continue to catalog the artifacts that we have. So that's the continued
And you're
update.
working on that?
Yeah, so I don't think there's anything else on there. I'll have a
Okay.
look at it for our next meeting, but those were the 2 main things for the update at this time, so.
Okay. Was there anything that was on anybody's mind that we did not discuss this evening?
Oh,
Yes?
sorry, I
obviously.
forgot to, I was just thinking about the exhibits. There was something I forgot to say. We discussed last meeting about having a little demo, like, remove, of the, like, a timber frame, the log building.
Mm,
So I did reach out to 2 of the high schools with woodworking programs as suggested. Only one of them got back to me, and unfortunately, well, they just planned their semester quite far in advance, so they wouldn't be able to add it into the semester for, like, before our summer season. But if we are interested in collaborating, the teacher said to let them know for a, you know,
future years.
a future semester. So,
Good.
Which school?
Ameguin.
Awesome.
Amazing. So they might have sons and daughters of actual log builders. Because I know we have a couple of log builders down at that corner.
In our township, yeah.
Yeah.
My son-in-law's father's quite a log home builder.
So we're still looking for someone to come and maybe do a bit of a demo at Heritage Day.
Yeah, and I
And,
don't know how it is busy he is.
yeah,
Yeah, because for stuff like that, the setup, even to do a demonstration is,
Quite involved.
yeah. Well, I know where we might be getting some red pine logs.
Yes. Yeah, lots of them.
Okay, so we'll sort of, we can come back to that in the future, but yeah, sorry, I forgot to mention that.
That's okay. At least you reached out, which is
Yeah.
great. So, okay, I have the motion to adjourn. I need to move in a second. Steve, Gladys?
And it's 6:44, Jane.
So the board meeting is hereby adjourned at 6:44. And the next meeting will be held Wednesday, April the 2nd, 2025 at 6 PM. All in favor? Carried. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.